if you're struggling with the Doom Tower bosses, or if you're just curious about a fantastic champion that can solo the Magma Dragon, then this is the video for you. We are, of course, going to be talking about that champion, about the boss a little bit, and how you can beat it. Even though this is a solo or a duo run, the run is still only around 3 minutes. So far, I have been able to play test it on, obviously, the stage 10 of hard mode Doom Tower. We do, of course, face the Magma Dragon a little bit later on as well, and I do think the builds on these champions will hold strong, but we might have to test it later on. If there's any differences, I'll make a community post about it, or of course post it in my Discord as well. But I do think this will work. So what is the champion? Who is the champion that can do this? Some of you might have been able to guess by the thumbnail and the outline, but it is going to be Vault Keeper Wixwell, this fantastic beast right here. I finally got around to getting him built out today. He is in a pretty juicy build. Let's go ahead and go over his kit and talk about what makes him a solo viable champion for the Magma Dragon, or of course just a fantastic support champion even if you're bringing in a full team. Probably the skill that we're talking about is the A1, which attacks one enemy 2 times, each hit having a 60% chance when booked, placing a provoke. If the target is a boss, the chance increases to 80%, which means he's going to have a 100% chance on each hit of placing a provoke. Now, I do have an entire video dedicated to some of the best provokers in the game for the Magma Dragon, and he would definitely be number 1 if he was in the game at the time I had made that video. Unfortunately, he wasn't though, so this skill alone, you could put him in the Magma, you could turn off everything else, and he will be able to get through it alone with this, just because he is going to keep the provoke up 100% of the time, combined with his passive. So at the start of each round, he places a counterattack on himself for 1 turn, and it cannot be removed. So it's a protected counterattack, and at the end of every single turn of his, he places a counterattack buff on himself for 1 turn. So he's basically just always got a counterattack up. The way provoke works in the game is if you have a provoke up, you get hit by somebody who's provoked, you counterattack, you place a provoke, it can still go on. So you'll see that sometimes with UDK in the arena, for example. You have a provoked arbiter or something who hits UDK, he counterattacks, provokes her again. It is pretty crazy, but you can basically just keep that provoke up 100% of the time. His A2 places a decrease attack, which is pretty decent. He then increases the value of all shields, so you're basically supposed to use this after the A3. And then, of course, he places 2 intercept stacks on a target ally. That's basically just a buff that's going to eat up a debuff if it's a crowd control debuff. He then places an increased defense and a shield on all allies for 2 turns. The value of the shield is proportional to his defense, so as you'll see from the run, we do definitely get a pretty chunky shield because he does have a very, very big defensive pool, of course. In terms of the gear that I have on him, let's go ahead and take a look. So we have a very nice perception set coming in here with some speed, crit rate, HP, and resistance. That's a hell of a lot of resistance actually for a piece. We have some decent stats coming in here as well. I don't even have most of this gear glyphed. This is definitely a pretty crazy build though, don't get me wrong, in my opinion at least. Mostly 6-star gear on him. I kind of went all out. He could have a lot more defense or a lot more HP if we didn't put an accuracy chest plate on him, but I did. So here we are. We're just going to have to deal with it. We have speed boots with speed ascension, some attack there. This would be better if we had like resistance or defense or HP or something like that. In terms of the jewelry, this is what we got going on here. A lot of resistance coming in on this amulet as well, which is quite nice. And finally, we have a very, very juicy banner here for him as well. Of course, priority stats, I did actually want to have a lot of HP on him. And I also wanted to have a lot of accuracy and defense. I will probably throw together a kind of like a guide or something like that I might throw on the video here right now, like kind of a little infographic that will also be shared in my Discord if you want to get the HD version of it. I think I'm going to start making infographics for when I make champion guides and stuff like that, just so you guys can see it and see how to build them, priority stats, all that sort of good stuff. In terms of the skills, he is fully booked out. I have faultless defense as the blessing on him since he is placing an increased defense, and he does have an ally defense in all battles aura. And the masteries, this is what we have going on. So we come down singular in the offense tree just to get War Master for a little bit of extra damage since I'm mainly using him in PvE. And then of course he does come down to counterattack masteries because he has it basically 100% provoke on his A1, goddammit. So if you're not running him in counterattack masteries, I don't know what you're doing. Probably not something good. You're not doing something right if you're not running him in counterattack, in my opinion at least. Obviously, take it with a grain of salt. He does also have the immortal set, which helps to keep him alive, so he's healing by 3% each turn, and he also has a plus 15% HP. Now in the run I did, it wasn't a true solo run because I did actually go ahead and throw him in with Durandil. Durandil is built out for a Fire Knight hard composition that I was running, so he's got decent speed, attack, you know, all that sort of good stuff. He doesn't have any masteries though, and he's an epic nuker, so you can bring in basically anybody. This guy is literally just there to help the waves go quicker. This guy is literally just there to assist a little bit with speeding up the run. I'm going to go ahead and throw the run on screen here now while I talk a little bit more about this composition. So if you didn't have Durandal, you could bring in your starter. So if you have a Kale or an Aethel or an Elhain or something like that, go ahead and bring them. Basically, any damage dealer that you bring in, just make sure that they are not bringing an HP burn, because the Magma Dragon is, of course, going to take those HP burns off and replace them with a continuous heal. You can, of course, bring in somebody like a Ninja if you have another champion that can do a heal reduction on the boss. If the heal reduction is up, of course, he's not going to heal from those continuous heals anyways, which is pretty cool. Other damage dealers, that would be pretty fantastic. It's not really anyone specific, so I mean this quite literally. Any damage dealer you have is going to work for this role, because you're essentially just trying to get through the waves as quick as possible and then on to the boss with Wixwell. So if you have like a Trunda even, for example, she's going to work perfectly fine. And Ava, hell, you could even bring in somebody like, where is he? All the way down here. You could bring in your trusty, reliable Fellhound, Bellower, anybody who's just going to get you through those waves and has a little bit of nukage, of course. With this as well, you could technically run some food champions and then also bring in the masteries that, you know, boost your speed and everything like that when an ally dies. I don't really think that's needed here, though, just because, you know, again, it's just these two champions, and this is a fairly fast run. When I had done it, like I say, it got done in about 3 minutes. With my regular team that I have set to farm it, it's about 1.5 minutes. So for a solo run, that is certainly not bad. You can definitely do it a lot faster too if you have some of these ridiculously, you know, pay-to-win teams, or God forbid we look at the global rankings. I'm sure this is insanity. Not as insane as I thought it would be, actually, honestly. I thought we were going to see like +4 empowered, you know, mythicals and stuff like that, but perhaps the people that have those aren't really doing PvE anyways. We'll see. That being said, let me know down below if you guys run this strategy and what you think of it. I'm definitely excited to make some more videos on Wixwell here soon. I'm thinking about drafting an Infinity comp for my clan boss as well, just to do some damage, and I am definitely going to be using him in Hydra too, because he seems like a fantastic champion to use there. So thank you guys all so much for watching until the end, and I'll see you in the next video.